Hello and welcome to a bonus episode of Soap Scoop. Me and Chloe have jumped on here a bit ad hoc from our usual offering that we give you on a Tuesday because we have to react to this big revelation that Becky is alive in Coronation Street. Now, we know there's going to be lots of you that want to talk about this and we're talking about it. So join our conversation, even if we use this as a space to just vent about this huge event that's happened in Weatherfield. Chloe, I think even before we got the notes from Corrie saying that this was going to happen, we suspected it anyway. It was kind of a given, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, although Swarla have had a lot of drama, obviously kidney drama, Rob coming back, there's so many things that they've had to face. They haven't had a kind of relationship test as such. They've been so stable, they've been so strong. They're like the most solid couple on the street, I think. So it was kind of inevitable. And I kind of think it was a case of either Becky's back from the dead or Peter comes back. It was kind of one of those two. I feel like one of those was inevitable. I was surprised that it was going to be Becky back from the dead. But as the kind of drama with all the kind of police stuff ramped up, I guess it was kind of inevitable. And I do actually think, and I know this is kind of controversial, but I do actually think it's a more interesting story than her being dead. And we kind of just deal with Lisa's grief and come to a kind of nice, gentle conclusion. It throws everything up in the air. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, and it raises so many questions as well because obviously everyone thinks that she's dead, killed in the line of duty. She isn't. So, the first sort of guess is that perhaps she's in some witness protection or there's this bigger story going on behind the scenes as to why she had to walk away from a family that she loves dearly. And, judging by the interview that's just come out with Amy Cudden, she says, she's been keeping an eye on this family. She's been watching them from afar, watching but not being able to sort of reach out and touch. So there's obviously a bigger story going on behind the scenes. I do really want to see how Swarla are going to deal with it. But there was a really interesting quote, I thought, from Amy where she said, it's not going to be as straightforward as Becky trying to reintegrate herself in Lisa's life. And things that are forged in fire often withstand anything that comes at them in the end. And I think that was her saying, like, look, even she was saying Swallow, they might be okay, but they're going to have a few bumps along the way.
Yeah, I think that was her raising her hands and being like, look, it's all going to be okay in the end. And I feel like that would be my message, is that, and also if you love a couple, right, on a soap, you want them to be on screen a lot. And if you want them to be on screen a lot, they're going to have to be put through absolute torture. Otherwise, if they're happy and they're settled and they're just going about their daily, going about their day eating breakfast, you're not going to see them. So, and I know there'll be people going, but there's so much story to tell, and there is. But I feel like this is just such an interesting diversion for them as characters. I mean, all we've known throughout Lisa's whole journey on the street is her being a widower, and going through that grieving process, and Betsy as well. And now this is just basically reversing everything we know, and we're almost going to have to start again with these characters. And I find that really exciting because I think, okay, so who is Lisa now? Like, what's her journey now? And I'm sure there's going to be, difficult moments for Carla because, of course, the ex coming back is not what you want, especially when if someone dies, they become this kind of, treasured person who could do no wrong. But for all we know, Becky could be, but not a very nice person, and she's hidden herself away for so long. It's not all going to be like, oh, Lisa and Becky are going to, jump back together again. There's going to be a lot of hurdles to get through, and I think for all of them involved. And personally, I find that really exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the next, because obviously we're all now like chomping at the bit to find out what happens next. And the next thing on Friday, I think, is Carla coming back home to the flat, finding Becky there with Lisa, and this, sort of almighty sort of showdown is going to erupt. I mean, poor Lisa, you're sat there with your glass of wine waiting for your new fiance to come home, and the person you thought was dead walks through the door. Like, I thought that was a brilliant scene from Vicky Myers. Like, obviously the wine glass smash and just the look on her face. Like, of course, like your absolute heart would be jumping out of your mouth. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Carla deals with it. I say send David round there, just as they're at the point of like having a proper old, like, really getting into it. David turns around to like have a whinge at them or something.
I love interrupting their big moments, so you never know. I mean, yeah, Vicky Myers' gasp was brilliant, and I think that she had some beautiful scenes with Betsy in her birthday episode, and I mean, my heart is just already breaking for Betsy. So there's just so much, drama, angst, pain, but I feel like at the end of the day, Coronation Street have just given Swarla their own beautiful house. Like, I don't think this is gonna. If it does maybe tear them apart briefly at some points in the story, it may happen, but I just feel like this is ultimately going to make them stronger in the end, I think.
Yeah, and I agree what you said about, they could have quite easily brought Peter back as the spanner in the works. But as much as I love that character and I loved that era for Carla, that would have been so boring because, we've seen Carla navigate kind of all these big relationships in the past, that the only thing to do really was to put the Lisa relationship in there to see how Carla deals with it, because she's never normally on the receiving end of a twist that is so out of her own control. So yeah, I think that is going to be really, really interesting. And I like what you said as well. Like, you said something on social media the other night, actually, which now that I've seen the episode myself, I agree with. This real sense of like community in Corrie in this whole episode. Like, I loved all the stuff with arguing with David, and there was some real humor in there, and the stuff, scenes of kind of Ryan, Betsy, Carla, Lisa as a real family stationed on the street was really, really refreshing to see, and all the twists. And of course, it wasn't even Betsy that got run over, it was Tyrone, and that's a whole other story which you can read about in tomorrow's Inside Soap Mag. But yeah, just I thought it was a really cracking episode all in all.
Oh, good. I loved it. I thought, like I said, great community sense. The humor was fantastic. David furiously washing his hands when he touched the pregnancy test, and Sarah being like, well, someone might not have very good aim. I just thought that was amazing. Such a good episode. It was like, to me, it was a perfect Coronation Street episode. You got humor, you got unexpected twists, drama. I know a lot of people will have guessed the Becky stuff already, but I still think it was still had that kind of gasp moment at the end. So yeah, it was such a good episode.
Well, tomorrow in the episode of Soap Scoop that we usually drop for you at midnight, Chloe and I are going to continue this conversation because we are privy to the following week's episodes in terms of what happens between Lisa and Becky in those. So we've discussed this at length again. So if you would like to join this conversation and just hear what we think, and please like and comment. We do want to hear your comments. Email podcast@insidesoap.co.uk, because we really want this to be like a chat between us and you, our readers, our listeners. So, and this is such a huge talking point. I mean, Swarla is arguably like one of the biggest storylines in soap at the moment, along the same lines as Robin and Emmerdale, who are having a bit of a time as well. We're gonna try and talk to you a lot more about them as well. But this was a special episode to focus on this big development, and yeah, we want to hear what you think, don't we, Chloe?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please continue the conversation in the comments. Email us, like LJ said. We want to hear what you think as well.
Lovely. Well, look forward to tomorrow's episode. It drops at midnight for Soap Scoop, and yeah, we will continue this conversation as the weeks go on. Thank you very, very much, and goodbye.